This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Glatstein. We're already holding Erev Tisha B'Av. Say about the Chassam Sofer that already Erev Tisha B'Av, he was crying bitter tears to the point where he was able to fill up an entire cup of Beis, with which he would dip in his bread for the Sudas HaMafsekes to be Mekayim, the Inyan of Lechem B'dima Achalti. So Gemara says, Masechta Turnus, on Daf Chavav and Beis. The Gemara is referring to what the Mishnah said on Chavav and Aleph. The Mishnah said that there are 5 tragedies that happened on Tisha B'Av, and the Gemara says 5 things that happened on Shivas B'Tammuz, and then on Chavav and Beis it says the 5 things that happened on Shivas B'Tammuz, and then the Mishnah continues, what 5 tragedies happened on Tisha B'Av? The Tisha B'Av Nigzar al Vayseinu Shel Yichnasu La'aretz. The decree was on our forefathers because of the Chet HaMeraglim that they would not enter Eretz Yisrael. V'charav Habayis Barishayna. The first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Uveshniya. The second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. V'nilkada Beitar. Beitar was conquered. V'nechru Shahayir. And the city was plowed over. What does that mean, the city was plowed over? Who plowed over the city? So the Gemara says, a little bit further on Daf Chav Tesam and Aleph, Tanya, we learned in a Brisa, Kishacharav Turnus Rufus Harasha as a Heichal. When Turnus Rufus destroyed the Heichal. Now that's very unusual, because Turnus Rufus did not destroy the Heichal. The Heichal was destroyed by Titus. So that's why the Masar Sashas says the correct Gersa is Kishacharash. When he uprooted the Heichal. He uprooted the Heichal. The Heichal was already destroyed. He plowed it over. And in fact, that's what we say in Tehillim. Zachar Hashem l'vnei Edom. Esyom Yerushalayim. Remember Hashem, what the children of Edom did the day of Yerushalayim, right? Ha'oimrim aru aru, right? Ha'oimrim aru aru. They say, destroy, destroy. Ad haYesoidva. It wasn't enough to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. They wanted to uproot the foundations of the Beis HaMikdash. They wanted to be ma'aker. They wanted to be ma'aker the Yesoid. And the question is, and this question is raised by the Brisker Rav, and really it has 2 parts to it. Number 1, why did he do it? Beis HaMikdash was already burnt down to the floor. What was the purpose of uprooting it? In a way, you could say, uprooting it is a favor for us. Uprooting it is a favor. Why? Because when a house burns down to the ground, the first thing you need to do is to rebuild it is uproot it from the foundation. Right. You can't rebuild the old foundations. So why would Turnus through? He's doing us a favor. Why is he uprooting it? Why is he plowing it? And why is it such a tragedy that we list? What are the 5 tragedies that happened on Tisha B'Av? Number 1, the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Number 2, the second base. And you know what else? They even plowed it. I mean, who cares? Once it was already destroyed, Mali, they plowed it, they didn't plow it. I could care less what they did after. Once it was burnt down to the ground, once it was burned to a crisp, what difference does it make to Klal Yisrael if it was actually uprooted or not? Says the Ramah. The Ramah says, in Ar Chaim, Siman Tav Kuf Nun Hey, that there are some people that have a minhag that the night of Tisha B'Av, that's tonight, they go to sleep, they put a rock under their head. Some people do this. Says Ramah, V'yesh b'nei adam masimim even tachas m'rashoseim. Some people put a stone under their heads. Zecher l'ma shenemar, to remember what it says, Vayikach me'avnei hamakom. That when Yaakov Avinu went to sleep by the Har HaBayis, it says he took from the stones of the place, Vayosem Marashoy, so he put it under his head. Say Chazal, Sharo HaChorben. That Yaakov Avinu saw the Chorben. So if Yaakov Avinu saw the Chorben, and when he saw the Chorben, he put rocks under his head, so therefore there's a custom that some people have, they put a stone under their pillow the night of Tisha B'Av. Question is, what evidence do we have that when Yaakov Avinu had his dream on the Har HaBayis, he saw the Chorben? That's not what the Chumash says. Chumash says he saw Malachei Elokim Oilim v'Yardim Bai. He saw the angels of God Oilim v'Yardim Bai. He saw the Dmos Yaakov on the Kisei HaKavod, right? Achein yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh v'anoichi lo yadati. Right? Like Rav Shamshon Mishtapolier says, Achein yesh Hashem. Yaakov Avinu always knew there was an Ari, a Kruv, and a nesher on the kisei hakavod. Achein ari kruv nes. But v'anoichi. But the fourth thing, me Yaakov, I never knew I was there on the kisei hakavod. V'anoichi ari kruv nesher Yaakov. Or anoichi I la yadati. I didn't know I was there. So where's there any evidence that Yaakov Avinu, when he's having his dream on the Har HaBayis, saw Churban? That's not what it says. It says, V'hinei sulam mutzav arza, v'roishem hagesh, right? V'hinei malachei lekim oilam v'yardim b'y. Says the Yalkut Shemaini, that by the Akedah, the Pasuk says that Avram Avinu wasn't really sure where he was going. Vayar es hamakoim meirachik. He saw the place from far away. So the Mefarshim explained, how did he see the place from far away? What did he see? Says the Medrash, Metchila haya hamakoim amoik. At first, the place was very deep, deep down. In other words, Har HaMoriah, not only was it not a mountain, not only was it not flat, it was a valley. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says God, I don't dwell in valleys. I'm not a valley God. Ein derech hamelech lishkoin be'emek. It's not proper for a king to dwell in the valley. Ela b'makoim me'ula. But rather, in a high place, in an elevated place. Gavaya, high up, v'yafeh. So what did Hashem do? He took the valley and he raised it up. Har HaMoriah was not always a mountain. It started off deep. It started off a valley. It started off low. God says, this is not my kind of hangout place. I don't hang out in these kind of places. So Hashem gathered the valley. He raised it up. Lekach nikra Har HaMoriah. Shemi Yerasai Nasahar. Out of fear of Hashem, it became a mountain. By the way, the Medrash Tanchuma says the same thing. The Medrash asks, "V'heich nira meirachik, melamed shemetchila hayamakim amoik, kivan shamar Hakadosh Baruch Hu lishroi shchina sayalav." Since Hashem said to dwell her shchina, v'lasoisay mikdash, Amar, he said, "Ein derech melech lishkoin be'emek," and therefore Hashem turned it into a mountain.
How do you see a valley from far away?
It was sloping down.
Looking down, yeah.
It was sloping down. Okay. Says the Tosefta, Masechta Brachos, Parak Aleph, Pasuk Tez Zayin, that a prerequisite for the Shechina to return to the Beis HaMikdash is if the Mikdash again becomes a har, becomes a mountain. In other words, Hashem says, I'm not coming back. You're davening, Hamachazir Shechinasai L'tzion. I'm not coming back. If you want me to come back, it has to first be a mountain. Says the Tosefta, She'ein Shechina Chayzeres Ad Shetasa Har. The Shechina will not return until it's a mountain. Shenemar, this week's Parsha, Hahar, Hatoiv, Hazeh, V'halavanoim. The question is, and the Brisker Rav asks this question, what do you mean Hashem's not returning until it's a mountain? What do you think it is? Well, what is it now? It's a mountain. It's called Har HaBayis. So what's Hashem saying? I'm not coming back until it returns to being a mountain. That's exactly what it is. In Shabbos Miros, one of the Miros is Durar Yikra. Yeah?
Right.
So in Durar Yikra, look at number 11. Durar Yikra was written by Turnus ibn Labrat. Eloikim tein b'mamidbar ha. No? Hadashi. Very good.
A+.
Good. It's good to get the audience involved, you know? Okay, so the Dror Yikra says like this: Elokim Tain Hashem. We're asking Hashem to do us a favor. Elokim Tain Hashem give Bamidbar in the wilderness Har. Make it a mountain. Hadas Shita. What's Hadas? Hadas Shita. Hadas is a myrtle. Shita is another kind of wood. Acacia wood. Beroish. Beroish is cypress. Tidhar, I believe, is fir.
Boxwood.
What?
Boxwood.
I think Tidhar is fir and Te'ashur is box. Is that? I think so. Okay? So, not that I know what boxwood is, but right? But that the Zimra is saying, Hashem, make the desert a mountain. Hadas, Shita, Beroish, Tidhar. Very beautiful. Now, Turnus ibn Labrat, who's sitting in Spain, he's not sitting back on his hammock thinking, let me write some nice words. Let me write about different trees that I want to grow. All the piyutim, all the zmiras come from Sukkim. So presumably, this stanza of the Zemer comes from the Pasuk in Yeshaya, Perek Mem Aleph, Pasuk Yotes, Etain Bamidbar, I will place in the desert, Erez, cedar, Shita, acacia, Bahadas, myrtle, Eitz, shaman, pine wood, Asim Barava, I will put in the desert, Barosh, cypress, Tidhar. Tidhar is Tidar is the fir. Sa'ashur, box, right? So wait a second. If you look carefully at this pasuk, it doesn't say one word about making the midbar into a har. It says that Hashem's going to make the midbar grow with all various types of wood. So I get when it says in Dror Yikra, Hadas, Shita, Birosh, Tidhar, that's from this pasuk. That's what we're asking Hashem. All of these various trees are going to grow in the desert. But the beginning of the pasuk, Eloikim tein bamidbar har, God, make the wilderness a mountain, has absolutely no source in this pasuk. You see anywhere in this pasuk where Hashem says that He's going to make the midbar a mountain? Hashem doesn't say that. So where does this come from? Where does this come from? Trees grow in a mountain?
Take a look in the acacia in Eretz Yisrael. You see they're often growing on high hills.
If Hashem wants it to grow,
you'll see there are all the trees and all the foresters. They're harvesting the wood. It's all high up.
Okay, if Hashem wants a tree to grow in a desert, it could grow in a desert, right? So if it doesn't need water, it might not need a high temperature either, right? Okay, so comes along the Brisker Rav, and the Brisker Rav really opens up this whole sugya. Brisker Rav quotes, and this Brisker Rav is quoted in the Sefer Yibane HaMikdash of Rav Shlomo Brevda, Zechat Tzaddik Livracha. So he brings down the Medrash in the Yalkut that says that originally Avram Avinu saw as Hamaka Merachaik. Originally it was a place which was Amaik, and Hashem said it's not proper to dwell in the Emek, and therefore Hashem raised it up. Look on the fourth line. V'hinei b'toisefta brachos amru. In the Tosefta Masechta Brachos they say, Uminayin she'ein shchina chayzeres l'soicha ad shetasahar. How do we know that Hashem will not return until He makes it into a mountain? Shenemar, Hahar, Hatoiv, Hazav, Alvanan. V'shamati b'shem Moran Hagriz Al Mibrisk. I heard from the Brisker Rav. Shehiksha Loshen HaTosefta, the Brisker Rav asked on the Tosefta, Ad shetasahar, what do you mean until it becomes a mountain? Haloi gam bizman hazeh la'achar churban Beis HaMikdash adayin hamokam nikra har habayis v'mkein mazeh sheshaninu ad shetasahar. What does the Tosefta mean? God won't return until it becomes a mountain. It's a mountain now. It's called har habayis. Says the Brisker Rav that we learned in the fourth parak of Turnus. We read it in number 1, that 5 tragedies happened on Tisha B'Av. One of them was, it was decreed we couldn't enter Eretz Yisrael. One of them, Chorm Bayis Rishon, Chorm Bayis Sheni, Nokada Beitar, Nechrisha Ha'ir. The city was plowed. Yeah? And the Gemara wants to know who plowed the city. And the Gemara says on Daf Chavtes, Turnus Rufus Harasha plowed the city. And the Rambam also brings down that Turnus Rufus plowed the city, Lekaye Ma Shenemar, Tzion, Sada Techaresh. Frak the Brisker Rav. Va'amar Moran Hagriz. Rav Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik asks, Mikivan shekvar hechriva haromaim es habayis. If the Romans destroyed the house, the Sarfu es hahechal, and they burnt it down, me'ezetam hichlet Turnus Rufus harasha lachrish es hahechal v'svivav. Why did Turnus Rufus plow it? For what? What's the point? What was he getting at? And we could ask, and why is it so tragic to us that he plowed it? If anything, it's better for us. Who wants to see a remnant of the ruin? Better a plowed field? But Amar Maran, says the Grez, Shemashma mehat Tosefta. We saw from the Tosefta that God said He will never return to the Har Habayis until it returns to being a mountain. So therefore Turnus Rufus says, yeah, the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, but God could always come back because it's a mountain. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to plow out the earth, and it's not going to be a mountain anymore. Part of the mountain will be missing. It's not a full mountain. This is not a har anymore. Turnus Rufus wasn't just removing the the memory of it. Turnus Rufus was removing the criteria, the ingredient needed for God to return. Says the Brisker Rav, Shemash V'mei HaTosefta, Shutnai B'achzaras HaShechina L'makam HaMikdash, Shehamakam Yehar. We need the place to be a mountain. V'ratza Turnus Rufus, B'zadan Libai, Liyos Batuach. Turnus Rufus wanted to be confident. Shela Oilam Leituchal HaShechina L'achzar L'makam Hahu. Turnus Rufus wanted to know that the Shechina will never return. V'yalkein Charash Esamakim, therefore he plowed the place. Hichriv Es Etzem Hahar Ad Shenasa Makam Ishar. He took the edge off the mountain. He took the topping off the mountain. He made it that in order for God to return, we don't just need a Beis HaMikdash. We need to rebuild the Har. We need to rebuild the Har. Therefore, V'yalzeh Oimeres HaTosefta, that's what the Tosefta says. Shakadosh Baruch Hu Yachzer V'yagbias Hamakam V'yasahar. That's why the Tosefta says that God will elevate the mountain and restore it to being a mountain in order for the Shekhinah to return. So, by the way, Reb Revda writes parenthetically, this is alluded to in the Yalkut, because the Yalkut said that as soon as Hashem came to Har HaMoriah, Hashem said, "I can't dwell here." Why couldn't He dwell there? Like what the Tosefta says, God will only dwell on a har. He will not dwell in an Amek. And therefore, Rebbeinu Shem elevated it. So says the Brisker Rav, now we understand. Go back to the Pasuk in Yeshaya. Pasuk in Yeshaya just says, Etain Bamidbar Erez Shita Bahadas Ve'et Shemen. Nowhere does it say Hashem's going to make the desert a mountain. So the question is, look on the second line in this paragraph. V'hakosav hazehu hamakar. This pasuk is a source. L'divrei Baal Hazmiros l'Shabbos Kodesh. Eloi Kimtain Bamidbar Har Hadash Shita B'Rosh Tidar. Right? The Baal HaZemer says Hashem makes the desert into a mountain. Amnam l'chayr tzarchim b'zeh. It's very difficult. If the request is to make the desert grow with all kinds of trees, that has a source. That has a source in Yeshaya Mem Aleph Yotes. Amnam what source is there in Tanakh that one day God will make the desert into a mountain? Is there any pasuk in Tanakh that says God will make the desert into a mountain? It doesn't say that anywhere. So what's the source? V'amar Moron, says the Brisker Rav, sheyitachin, it's very possible, shebal hazmiros hiskavin linyan anal, that the author of Devar Yikra had in mind what we're discussing. Sha'asan HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'hagbia es makam HaMikdash, that God is destined to elevate the Har HaBayis, shacharshu Turnus Rufus harasha, v'yasa oisei in order for the Shekhinah to be there. And this is the meaning, Eloikim Tain Bamidbar Har. Says the Brisker Rav, this could be this week's Parsha, Parshas Vaschana, and Shabbos Nachamu. What do we say in Shabbos Nachamu? What do we say in the Haftarah? Kol Gei Yinaseh. Every valley God will raise up. What's that referring to? Says the Brisker Rav, that is referring to this episode that L'Asad Lavai B'Yimais HaMashiach, Hashem will take the Har HaBayis, which unfortunately now has been resigned to not being a har, and Hashem will elevate it to the status of a har in order for the Shekhinah to dwell. Okay? So this is the pshat of the Brisker Rav. Yeah, afterwards. Okay. Okay. So this is the pshat of the Brisker Rav. Comes from Nosson Adler. From Nosson Adler is the Rebbe of the Chassam Sofer. And Rav Nosson Adler says like this. We said that when Yaakov Avinu was on the Har HaBayis, so some people put a stone under their head because when Yaakov Avinu was on the Har HaBayis, he saw Churban. Where in the Psukim is there any remez that Yaakov Avinu saw Churban? He didn't see Churban, he saw a ladder, he saw angels going up the ladder, he saw angels going down the ladder. What's this all about? Says Rav Nosson Adler. The pasuk says, "Vayifka b'makom." He met the place. What do you mean he met the place? It's not a makom. It's a har. Vayishkav b'makom ahu. What do you mean? It's not a makom. It's a har. When was it a makom? By Avram Avinu, Vayaras HaMakom Merachak. He saw a makom. But Hashem restored the makom into a har. So why is the pasuk keep on saying Vayifka b'makom, Vayishkav b'makom? What? He went back to sleep and to see and to meet up the place of where Avram Avinu was before Hashem made it into a har. This is a remiss to the fact that in the vision of Yaakov Avinu, when he's seeing Har Abayis, he's not seeing it as a har. He's seeing what the Goyim did to it. He's seeing when the Goyim made it a makom. A makom means a place void of any elevation. So that's the remez. Vayivka b'makom ahu. Says Rav Nosson Adler in the Sefer Torah Semes. He says, Vayivka b'makom. Amar Chazal. Chazal says Shara HaChorban, that Yaakov Avinu saw the Chorban. So he says, if you look in the Hagoyis Mordechai, Moed Katan, in the Ramah and Hilchos Tisha B'Av, there are some people shemasimim even tachas roisham. They put a stone under their head. Zeicher l'ma shenemar vayikach me'avnei hamakar. V'churban Beis HaMikdash ra. We know Yaakov Avinu saw the churban. Shenemar manoira hamakar mazeh. Where do Chazal get this from? V'darshu kain al shemakom Beis HaMikdash hayom yikaydem rak eretz mishar. Originally, Beis HaMikdash was a flat land. V'nikra makom by Avram Avinu vayaras hamakom merachak. The Avram Avinu, now listen carefully, listen to how he touches the pasuk, and this is the pshat of Rav Nosson Adler, and the Chassam Sofer, and Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, and the Rebbe Rav Heschel. They all say the same thing. Vayikra Avraham Shem Hamakom Ahu Hashem Yera'eh Asher Ye'omer Hayoim Behar Hashem Yera'eh. You hear this? Avraham called the name of the Makom Hashem Yera'eh. Why? That it should be said today, Hayayim. It wasn't a mountain before. Hayayim Bahar Hashem Yera'eh. Today it became a mountain. Okay. Says the Chassam Sofer.
Sorry, what's Norah about a Makkah? If it was a mountain, I can see Norah. Why not? Yaakov said Manorah, Makkah is there.
Okay, so Chassam Sofer addresses that in Parshas Vayetze. Chassam Sofer says like this, that in the times of Daniel, Daniel took the word Noira out of Shemona Esrei. Why? Why did Daniel take Noira out of Shemona Esrei? Because he said, Goyim meraktim behechal, the Goyim are dancing the hechal. Aye Noiroisa, where's God's Moira? So Yaakov Avinu, we're going to come to this. There's a stanza in the Kinnis that says, Vayekoinen ein zeh. He was Mekoinen, Yaakov Avinu was Mekoinen ein zeh. The word's ein zeh. Now, ein zeh, that's a kinna. We know, Yaakov Avinu said, ein zeh ki'im beis alakim v'zeh shar hashamayim. That's a kinna. We would think Yaakov Avinu is saying a beautiful thing. You know, where I'm sleeping is not just the Makkah Mikdash Shel Mala. It's the Makkah Mikdash. It's not just the Mikdash Shel Mala. It's the Mikdash Shel Mala also. Ein zeh ki'im beis alakim. Says the Chassam Sofer an amazing thing. He says, we know, it says Yushalayim habenuya ke'ir shechur b'la yachdav. That the built up Yushalayim is like the city attached to it. So ask the Gemara, the city attached to Yushalayim, there's no city attached to Yushalayim. Yushalayim is Harim Savivla. There's no city to the east, there's no city to the west, there's no sister city of Yushalayim. That's not like Dallas, Fort Worth. There's no sister city. So what does it mean, Yushalayim she'ir ke'ir shechur b'la yachdav? Says the Gemara, Yushalayim shamala mechuber keneged Yushalayim shamala. And we know there's an idea, Beis HaMikdash shamala is mechuvan keneged Beis HaMikdash shel mata. Yeah? So it comes out, says Chassam Sofer, as long as the Beis HaMikdash shamala is corresponding to the Beis HaMikdash shamata, as long as they're perfectly aligned, the Goyim can never destroy the Beis HaMikdash. Because the earthly Beis HaMikdash is being protected from the heavenly Beis HaMikdash. In order to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, God has to shift the alignment, remove the alignment. And that's what the Pasuk says in Eicha. Nier Hashem Mikdashai. God shook his mikdash. He moved Beis HaMikdash Shamala away from Beis HaMikdash Shamata. That allowed the Goyim to enter and to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. Says the Chassam Sofer, when Yaakov Avinu came to Har HaMoriah, what happened? Yaakov Avinu was going from Beersheva in the south to Beis El in the north, and on his way, he passes by the Makom HaMikdash. And the Beis HaMikdash, the Makom HaMikdash is nekar mimakaimai, and it comes to Yaakov Avinu. Right? We know the Beis HaMikdash was uprooted from its place, and it was moved to Yaakov. So think about what's happening. The Beis HaMikdash Shamala remains where it is. Beis HaMikdash Shamata is uprooted and comes to Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu is coming back from Beis El to Yerushalayim. The Beis HaMikdash is not aligned anymore. He said like this, Ulakach Amar Pamayim Ein Zeh Kiyim Beis Elokim V'Zeh Shara Shamayim. In other words, Yaakov Avinu is commenting on the fact, Ein Zeh Kiyim Beis Elokim. This is just Beis HaMikdash Shamata, but the Beis HaMikdash Shamala is elsewhere. That's how we know Yaakov saw the Churban. Because if Yerushalayim, Tarabayis was Nekar Mimakaimai, that makes it that the Beis HaMikdash Shamala is no longer aligned with the Beis HaMikdash Shamata. That allows for the Churban. That allows for Churban Beis HaMikdash. So it comes out that how do we know that Yaakov Avinu saw the Churban? Vayifka ba'makoim, he sees it as a makoim. Vayishkav ba'makoim ahu. The Beis HaMikdash Shamala is not aligned with the Beis HaMikdash Shamata. And it very well could be, says the Chassam Sofer, there's a big question here. I'll ask you a question, yeah? Yaakov Avinu was in the Yeshiva Shem Ve'ever for 14 years. See, some people, they sleep even during the day, during the Shiur. Some people don't even sleep at night, yeah? Yaakov Avinu, for 14 years, didn't lie down at night, didn't sleep at night, yeah? So Chazal say, Vayishka v'amakoim ahu, he slept in that place. But the 14 years that he was in Yeshiva Shem Ve'ever, he didn't sleep at night. So I have a question for you. You think for Yaakov Avinu, yeah, he went 14 years without sleeping. So why is he sleeping tonight? What, Bein Hazmanim comes and then all the learning is down the tubes? Why is he sleeping? If it's 14 years that he went without learning, right? 14 years that he went without sleeping, why is he sleeping tonight? And even more. During the 14 years, guess how much praise Yaakov Avinu gets? Not one word. We don't know one word what he's doing for 14 years. It doesn't even say in the Torah that he slept for 14 years, yeah? The moment he goes to sleep, got him. We didn't even know he was learning. And as soon as he goes to sleep, we chop him, he was sleeping. Says the Chassam Sofer, this is not the Gnai of Yaakov Avinu. We're not disparaging him. He's not allowed to learn. It's Tisha B'Av. He sees the Churban Beis HaMikdash. He sees the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Tisha B'Av. It's also to learn on Tisha B'Av. Now, I'll tell you a very interesting thing. So you say, what did he do for the last 14 years? Last 14 years on Tisha B'Av, he didn't know it was Tisha B'Av. Hashem never showed him the Churban. Now is the first time that he sees the Nevuah of Churban Beis HaMikdash. By the way, very interesting machlokes between Rabbi Vaji Yosef and Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul. We spoke about this on Friday. We know that it's also to learn on Tisha B'Av, and you're allowed to learn Dvarim HaMutarim, Dvarim HaRam. You're allowed to learn Eicha, Yirmiyah, Kamsa, Bar Kamsa, yeah? So now the question is, well, once you're allowed to learn these things, yeah? Are you mechuyev to learn these things? Because after all, v'higisa b'yom and v'layla, right? When is a person obligated to learn? Only during the day and the night. All other times you could twiddle your thumbs. Only during the day and the night, that's the only time you have to learn. So does that mitzvah apply on Tisha B'Av? Do we say like this? Well, you could look at it two ways. You could say, Tisha B'Av, you're not allowed to learn. There's no mitzvah of Yigisa B'Yom V'Layla. If you want to learn, we'll give you a recipe of what you're allowed to learn. You're only allowed to learn these things. But if you don't want to learn them, you don't have to learn them. Or do we say, well, once you're allowed to learn these things, now you're mechuyev to learn those things? No, the question is, are you mechuyev to learn Dvarim HaMutarim? Or is it only Rishus? So, Rabbi Zion Abishol says, based on the Psaka, the Shevet Yehuda and the Mata Yehuda and the Erech HaShulchan and the Kaf HaChaim, you have no chiyuv to learn these things. It's only Rishus, but if you want to, yeah? And Avad Yosef, Chelek Ches, Yaradea, Simulam and Hay says, you're mechuyev to learn. If you're allowed to learn, you're mechuyev to learn. So this Chassam Sofer is a riot to Rabbi Zion Abba Shaul. It's because the Chassam Sofer says that why wasn't Yaakov Avinu learning? Because it was Tisha B'Av. Shkoich, it's Tisha B'Av. He should have been learning Kamsa Bar Kamsa. He should have been learning Eicha. He should have been learning Teretzes. You're not mechuyev to learn on Tisha B'Av. If you want to learn, you could learn, but you're not mechuyev to learn.
What about to read Tehillim?
Are you allowed to read Tehillim on Tisha B'Av? Only for a chayla, only for an Eitzara, only derech tachnunim, not stam. But what about learning Musar on Tisha B'Av? Are you allowed to learn Musar on Tisha B'Av? It's machlokes haposkim. Not the rest of the year. The rest of the year, you should. Okay. What? Is it Musar? Okay. Rabbi, so let's take it one step further. What's this inyan that originally the Beis HaMikdash was a bika, it was a makaim amaik, it was a makaim, and through the tefillah of Avram Avinu it became a har. Tosfos says in Masechta Avodah Zarah, commenting on the Mishnah, Rabbi Kiva says, I want you to know that every single mountain in Eretz Yisrael is a makam Avodah Zarah. Every single mountain in Eretz Yisrael is a makam Avodah Zarah, and it cannot be used for a davar kadosh. Says Rabbi Akiva, Amar Rabbi Akiva, Ani oivin va'adoin lefanecha. I will show you. Kol makom she'ata moitzei har gavaya v'giva nesa, anywhere in Eretz Yisrael that you see a high mountain, v'yetz ranon and shady trees, da sheyesh sham avodas kochav. You should know there's avodah zarah there. By the way, the Gemara says, well, can something that's mechuber lekarka become ne'avad? We know something that's worshipped as avodah zarah is asar bahana, right? If let's say your friend has a cow, and he says, "I'm going to sell you my cow. The only thing, this is a holy cow. You know, I've been worshiping this cow for a long time." Yeah, the halacha is you can't be nene from it because it's avodah zarah. It's a ne'avad. What about if somebody wants to sell you real estate? He says, you should know, this is a wonderful piece of land. The only thing is, I've been worshipping the land. Can't buy it. It's asar bahana. Becomes asar bahana. Nevad is asar. Even mechubel chaka. So ask Tosfos, so how do you build the Beis HaMikdash? You can't build the Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash is built on Har Abayis. It's a har. It was, and Rabbi Kiva is saying that he has a chazaka that every mountain in Eretz Yisrael was worshipped as avodah zarah. So Tosfos, Masechta Avodah Zarah, says on Daf Mem Hey, very mysterious. He quotes Yerushalmi. B'Yerushalmi parich mi Beis HaBechira. In the Yerushalmi, the Gemara asks, how do you have a Beis HaMikdash? And you know what the Yerushalmi answers? Al pi Navi nivneh Shem. It was built based on the Navi. Presumably that means the Navi said, we know this mountain was not worshipped. What exactly does Tosfos mean? Says Rav Nosson Adler, says the Chassam Sofer in two different shuvas, says Rav Yonasan Eibeshitz, and says the Rebbe Rav Heschel. He says like this: Ayin Medrash Rabbah, Shera Oisai Shayarak Makoim. If you look in the Medrash, you find that when Avram Avinu came to the Beis HaMikdash, he saw it was a Makoim. Hainu Amoik, it was deep. V'loi har. V'hispalel Avram Avinu al Vashalom v'Omar in Kivoidai Shamelech HaKavoid Lishgoin Be'emek. It's not the kavod for Hashem to dwell in the valley. V'nasa har me'oisa hayom ve'elach. That's what Avram Avinu's mispalel. Asher ye'amar hayoim b'har Hashem yirah. Ask Rav Nosson Adler, what is going on with this mountain? This mountain has an identity crisis. First it's a valley. Then it's a mountain. Then Turnus Rufus uproots it and it becomes a valley again. And one day again, Elohim Tain Bamidbar Har. Why didn't Hashem just make it a mountain to begin with? Says Rav Nosson Adler, says the Chassam Sofer, says Rav Yonasan Eibeshitz, says the Rebbe Rav Heschel. If Hashem would have made Har HaMoriah a mountain, you could never have a Beis HaMikdash there. We couldn't go there today to daven at the Kotel, even though, by the way, the Kotel has nothing to do with the Beis HaMikdash. It's not a wall of the Beis HaMikdash. People mistakenly think it's the retaining wall of the Har HaBayis. It's not the western wall of the Beis HaMikdash. Otherwise, if it was the western wall of the Beis HaMikdash, you couldn't go there. No. You'd be tameh. Yeah? What?
The way you said it is a retaining wall, not the wall of the HaMikdash.
It's the retaining wall of the Har HaBayis. Yeah. It's not the wall of the Beis HaMikdash. If it was the wall of the Beis HaMikdash, you couldn't go there. Right? You couldn't, you'd be tameh meis. There's some poskim discuss whether you could stick your finger into the wall, because, like, where does the kedusha start? So it's probably mutter to stick your finger in, because it's not the wall of the Beis HaMikdash, it's the retaining wall. Okay. But says the Rav Nosson Adler, had Har HaMoriah always been a mountain, you would never be allowed to build a Beis HaMikdash there. Why? Because it would be a Banka Avodah Zarah. Because we have a tradition that every mountain in Eretz Yisrael has been worshipped as Avodah Zarah. So what does Ribbon Shalom do? The Ribbon Shalom made it a valley. Goyim don't worship valleys, they don't go to valleys. Then Avram Avinu says, God, you don't dwell in a valley. So Avram Avinu was mispalel asher yeyomer hayoim bahar Hashem yirah. He made it into a mountain. He was Makriv Yitzchak. At that point in time, Hashem gave Har HaMoriah to Avram. Goyim came later and worshipped it. Ein Adam Oiser Davar She'ena Shaloi. It was ready ours. If the Goyim would have worshipped it before Avram Avinu got there, they would have come first, they would have answered it, and we never would have been able to build the Beis HaMikdash for all eternity. So God did us a favor. He made it a makom, He made it an emek. Avram Avinu came along, he was mispalel to turn into a har. It was never asur. Turnus Rufus came along and said, look, if I plow it over, if I remove the status of har, the Shekhinah can't return. And it comes out that of all the things that we mourn on Tisha B'Av, the Makeh B'Patish, the final thing, the nail on the head, is not Churban Beis HaMikdash. The nail on the head is Nechor Shaha'ir. Because that sort of is an insurance, making it a little bit more difficult for the Rebbeinu Shalom to return to the Har Tzion. So it says,
because obviously it's still a har today.
By both.
So we have the har. I mean, they rebuilt.
No, we don't have the har.
No. That's not a har. What the har of Beis today?
No. The Gemara says, Yerushalayim is the highest place in the world. It's the highest place in the world? No. We don't have what was. Take a look at Rav Nosson Adler. He says, Nirli atam shalohaya har on the third line, mitchilas briyasai. It appears to me that the reason why it wasn't always a mountain, misham detnan b'masnisen, we learned in the Mishnah Avodah Zarah, kal makom sha'ata moitzi sham har gavaya b'yadua sheyesh sham Avodah Zarah. Ulamai dekaimelan, and according to what we paskin, yesh nevad b'mechuber etzel gavaya. That, now listen carefully. If someone worships Avodah Zarah land, it doesn't become asur lahana to a hedyot. It only becomes asur lahana for kachim, only legavaya. So b'yadua sheyesh sham Avodah Zarah, my dekamlan yesh nevad b'mechuber etzel gavaya lo have efshar livnei yisrael Beis HaMikdash. Ayin mashikasav Tosfos kal makom. Tosfos says what? It was built through the Navi. What does that mean? It was built through the Navi. It says Rav Nosson Adler, v'hashta yesh leimer. All the other mountains in Eretz Yisrael, you cannot build a Beis HaMikdash, because those mountains became disqualified for a mikdash. They become asur l'gavaya. You want to build a shul, gesundheit. You want to do mitzvahs there, gesundheit. You can't build a Beis HaMikdash there. Ach Har HaMoriah shahaya emek v'lo ha'amidu alav avodah zarah sham la'avda. They never worshipped on Har HaMoriah because it was a valley. Ad achar shenas har. Through the tefillah of Avram Avinu. V'oz kvar nitin le'haaretz. At that point in time, the land was given to Abraham. V'kidsha lebeis hamikdash, and it was already sanctified. V'ein adam oiser davar she'enoi shaloi. And a person cannot ask for something that doesn't belong to him. Now we come to something beautiful. Says Rav Nosson Adler. Is there a siddur here, or with a tehillim? Sure. Has a Tehillim in it? Yeah. Okay. So if you look in Parak Kuf Lamed Beis.
450 something.
Whoa. Kuf Lamed Beis. Oh. He says like this: Im avoi ba'oyal beisi. David HaMelech takes a shvua. I will not come into my house. Im ela al eretz yitzuai. I will not go onto my bed. Im etein shnas l'einai. I will not give sleep to my eyes, slumber to my eyelids. Ad emtza makoim la'Hashem mishkanois la'avir Yaakov. You know what I need for Hashem? Ad emtza makoim mishkanois la'avir Yaakov. David HaMelech saying, I need two things. I need something that was once a makoim, because something that was always a har would have been worshipped as avodah zarah. I need something that was once a makoim that turned into a mishkan. And what is that? Har HaBayis. Says Rav Nosson Adler. V'al Amar, that's what David HaMelech says. In etein shnas la'enai, ad emtza makoim la'Hashem, till I find a place to Hashem, sheyeh mishkanois la'aver Yaakov, that will be a mishkan to the Aver Yaakov. What is that? Shalazet sarach har v'loy makom. We need a mountain now, but not a makom. But we need a Navi to tell us what place was originally a makom that became a har. Ad emtza makom l'Hashem. I need a makom that became a mishkan. Yeah.
Wouldn't this create a problem for the mishkan? I mean, the mishkan from the midbar, it was for 400 years. It was moved around the mountains in Eretz Yisrael.
Was it on mountains?
No, it was flat.
Shiur's on a mountain.
It could be. The Beis HaMikdash is different. Beis HaMikdash, the actual karka became a davar kadosh. So therefore, a mountain which is worshipped, but the mishkan is a transient. It's movable. You're only using the actual mishkan itself. You're not using the ground possibly as part of the mishkan. So Rabbi Glatstein, this is what we're hoping for. We're hoping for a Leikim Tain Bamidbar Har. We're Maspala, we're Mechane into the Rebbeinu Shalom, that it should restore the Emek of the Har HaBayis into the real Har, the way the Har was. It's interesting.
Midbar Har. Yerushalayim is never a midbar.
Bamidbar doesn't necessarily mean a desert. Bamidbar can mean a wilderness.
That is the way it's
when you have Pera Adam, nomads living there, where else do they live? For that, it's a midbar. Okay, Rabbi Glatstein, the Gemara says in Masechta Turnus on Daf Lamed Amud Beis, Kol ha'misavel al Yerushalayim, zoicha v'roya b'Yeshuasa. Ask the Ritva, what do you mean Kol ha'misavel al Yerushalayim, zoicha v'roya b'Yeshuasa? There are many tzaddikim who lived throughout the generations. They were certainly misabel al Yerushalayim, a lot more than us. They were already from the beginning of the 3 weeks, already every night of the year, they were saying Tikkun Chatzos. They were certainly misabel in Yerushalayim. People used to come to get out of the draft in the 19th century. They used to go to Rabbi Yehuda Assad, and he would give them a special bottle to drink from. And it was a skula to drink from this bottle. And they asked, what are you giving these kids to drink? These were his tears from Tikkun Chatzos. And yet, these tzaddikim, they were not zoicha to see B'Yeshuas Yerushalayim. They did not see B'Nacham Asiyah in Yerushalayim. So what does the Gemara mean? Tchias HaMesim? Tchias HaMesim has nothing to do with Mashiach. Tchias HaMesim is Be'achros HaYomim, well after Binyan Beis HaMikdash. So what does it mean? Kol HaMisabel al Yerushalayim, Zoicha V'Roya B'Yeshuasa. Says the Ritva. You ready for this? The Ritva says, it must be. There are two Tchias HaMesims. One Tchias HaMesim will be at the end of days, for those who deserve it, for those tzaddikim who deserve it. There will be a special Tchias HaMesim for those people who are Mis'avel al Yerushalayim. They will get up to see the Binyan Beis HaMikdash.
Never heard that.
This is what it means. Kol HaMis'abel al Yerushalayim zoicha v'roya b'Yeshuasa. That's what we're talking about in Masechta Turnus. There are 5 tragedies that happened on Tisha B'Av. We were not zoicha to go into Eretz Yisrael. First Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. But the biggest heartbreak, the biggest tsar, is the fact that the Shechina is missing, and that was accomplished by the final Makabah Patish of Nechur Shaha'ir. I heard from Rabbi Yisrael Reisman Shlita that a few years ago, when he went to Eretz Yisrael, so he went to daven by Rabbi Yashiv, Zechat Tzaddik Levracha, and he wanted to hear how Rabbi Yashiv davened Shemona Esrei. Rabbi Yashiv was not marich in his Shemona Esrei, And he wanted to hear, there's certain special things that Rav Yashiv is machavin by, that he says more slowly. He said that when Rav Yashiv got up to the words, Baruch Atah Hashem, Hamachazir, Shchinasai, Letzion, he said these words the slowest with the most kavanah. We should be zoicha to see v'sachazenu einenu b'shuvcha Letzion baracham.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.